All right, so we're gonna start on our bellies today. And let me just show you what our first shape is gonna look like. And it's been a while since we've actually done this outside of my yin practice, but I really like to use the props that we have. And so take your blanket, and again, if you're in front of me, you can take the yoga blanket. But if you just have a throw blanket, I'll just show you what this is gonna look like. So we're gonna come into a prone, meaning belly, lumbar release. And so you've got options here. You can take a blanket and just kind of fold it in such a way or roll it. So it's either about this width for the most gentle version, or you can even fold it twice. So it's a little bit higher up. So before you come all the way down, just watch me first, because I've got some people who might be new, who've never done this before. So essentially, feel around. So put your hands on your waist and kind of feel around for your hip bones. That line, that's where the blanket is gonna go. And if it's too high up, you're gonna notice because you can't breathe, because that's where your belly is. So just take a look. Just crawl onto all fours and then really slowly place the front of your hip bones on the blanket with your toes untucked. And then just start to stretch your belly forward and then lay down. Let your rib cage rest and stack your palms underneath your forehead. And so we'll be here for a little while in our first shape. Not for too long. This isn't yin. So immediately assess if you can maintain this for just a little bit in the beginning of class. And some things to keep in mind. The first one is if you can't breathe, that means the blanket is too high. You'll have to lower it. You should feel like there's a big release in your lower lumbar spine. Almost like your tailbone were being lifted up by the blanket. And as you settle in here, just notice your rib cage. Your rib cage can press into the ground. And allow the back of your heart to lift and become more expansive. Continue to soften the tops of your shoulders and your elbows become a little bit wider. This shape is great if you ever experience any tension or pain in your lower back. So take a few slow breaths, relax the tops of your feet, let your heels splay open and wide. And smooth the edges of your breath. And remain calm. Let's take about 5 or so rounds of breath, just grounding our body. And enjoy this opening shape. And allow the sound of your breath to echo into the space inside your body, and maybe even the space that you're in. And so from here, just slowly pick up your forehead and gaze forward. Slide your palms underneath you, just so that you can press yourself up enough that you can slide your blanket off to the side. And then lay onto your belly once again. Stack your palms underneath your forehead and notice the difference in your lower back. Hopefully feel like there's a little bit of a reprieve, like you've just created more space. So keep your body relaxed and stay laying on your belly and simply just gaze forward towards the front of the room or the screen. And so make sure that there's enough space towards your left side. You can always scoot over so you've got enough space. And then gaze forward just so that you can see where we're going. Your right leg will stay straight. And then just start to glide your left knee across the ground towards the left. Okay, and I'll actually stand up and do this just so that you can see. So imagine that you're laying on your belly. Your left leg is going to glide. It's going to stay on the ground until it comes to about a 90-degree angle. And of course, you can pad your knee. We're not going to be here for a super long amount of time. But if this feels really uncomfortable, you can always just pad it with a pillow or a blanket, and then place your forehead against the palms of your hands. Just starting to open up through our hip and our glutes in this half frog shape in a prone position on our bellies. And keep the breath soft. We'll be here for just a few more rounds of breath. Okay, so pick up your forehead and gaze forward. And then just start to prop yourself up slightly. You can swivel your elbows in and your hands forward. We're going to come into a supine twist. And so just listen before you go. The right and left is key here. So your left knee is out. You're going to take your right hand, slide it under your belly as if you were coming into a thread the needle shape with the palm facing up. Stretch as much as you can to the left. Place the side of your head down and then roll onto your right side body. Left hand can touch either your rib cage, or you can let a cactus open if you want a little bit more of a shoulder opener. 3 rounds of breath here. And this stretch can feel really intense, this twist, because the knee is down. So breathe, just try to create space and twist from right around your waist. We won't be here for too long. Prioritize the breath. Beautiful. Take your time. Slowly return onto your belly. Adjust your hands and extend your left leg back to meet your right. Stack your palms under your forehead and just wag your tail. So sway your hips from side to side, releasing your low back, massaging the fronts of your hips. And so really slowly, let's make our way to the half frog shape on the right. And so with your left leg staying straight, start to bend your right knee and glide it along the ground. Right knee about a 90-degree angle. And if you want something more, you can always hike it up close to your armpit, but don't force it. Broaden through the back of your heart. Soften your elbows away from you. And take a few slow breaths here. As you can probably tell, today's practice focuses on more upper body. So neck, spine, and shoulders. And when you're ready, start to peel your forehead up. You can swivel your elbows in and your hands forward just so you can prop yourself up. We'll make our way to that spinal twist on this side. And so the left arm will dive underneath the chest, palm faces up, and then place the side of the head down. Roll onto your left side. And right arm can either float like a cactus shape, but if this is really uncomfortable to let the shoulder hover, just place your right hand against your rib cage. Keep rolling the right shoulder back. Twist from right underneath your rib cage, essentially your waist. And take 1 or 2 more slow breaths here. So take your time, just slowly return to your belly. Extend your legs back behind you. And situate yourself with your palms underneath your forehead and wag your tail. If you'd like, you can even bend your knees and sway your heels side to side like a windshield wiper, just to initiate a little bit more movement along the spine, the sacrum, the front of the hips. Okay. Lower your toes if your knees are bent. Slide your hands under your shoulders and press yourself up to a sitting position. So let's just start to warm up our neck muscles. We're going to do a little bit more for the neck throughout our practice. So just come to a sitting position, Sukhasana, and sit up tall. Just place your hands into your lap. And then tuck your chin in towards the notch in between your collarbones. Continue to sit up tall and lengthen through the back of your neck. Great. And keep your chin tucked for the moment. And then just start to trace your chin across your chest towards your right shoulder. And then down and towards your left shoulder. So if there was a paintbrush attached to your chin, it'd be tracing a little half moon or semicircle across your chest. So just keep going from right to left, releasing the back and sides of your neck. So let's make this movement a little bit more expansive. Now, with your chin tucked towards the midline, start to roll your right ear towards your right shoulder. Start to gaze forward. And then tuck your chin in towards the notch in between your collarbones. And then left ear towards left shoulder. You'll start to feel this a little bit more along the jawline, the sides of the neck. And keep going. Great. Tuck your chin in, pause, and then gaze forward. Place your hands in front of your shins. Roll over your shins and come to a hands and knees position or tabletop. And so let's all take our blankets, if you have them, and just adjust them so that they're in that more traditional folded position. And you might not need it, but it's always better to have it to grab a hold of. So just make sure it's folded someplace. So you can always have it and come into a tabletop position. And if you're on a hardwood surface, you might want to pad your knees. Spread your fingers wide. Press the base of your wrists down. Thigh bones perpendicular to the earth. Now on your next inhale, tip your sitting bones up. Soften your belly and pull your heart forward and gaze forward. And then exhale, press into your hands, knees, and toes. Round your spine and gaze in between your thigh bones. Tuck your chin slightly in towards your chest. So I'll move here in this traditional cow and cat motion of the spine. And use the entirety of the inhale to lift your sitting bones and the crown of your head up as your spine arches. And the whole exhale to round in, tailbone and crown of head point down towards the ground. Do one more, just like this traditional cat-cow motion. Okay, so now come into a neutral tabletop position. We're gonna add a little bit more breath and a little bit of neck releasing. So this time, come into a cow shape on your inhale, lift your sitting bones, soften your belly and pull your heart forward. And I'd like you to pause here, keep flaring your rib cage open, and then just slowly start to gaze towards the left, gaze past your left shoulder, keeping your spine arched, and then gaze forward and gaze towards the right. And then keep going, like you are looking both ways before you cross the street, but really slowly. On your next inhale, gaze forward, and then exhale, start to round your spine, tuck your chin in towards your chest, and then gaze in between your thigh bones, and then pause with the crown of your head kind of dangling. Again, just slowly nod your head no. Gazing underneath your left and right armpit. You pause and then come back into a neutral tabletop position. Great. Continue to stay in this tabletop position and we'll move into a thread the needle shape. So press your left palm down and sweep your right arm up and overhead. Circle out your wrists. And switch directions. Inhale here. And then exhale, dive your right arm underneath you. Come onto the outside of your right shoulder. And now pause here as you gaze to the left. You've got options with your left hand. You can keep it where it is. You can slide it forward towards my voice. Or you can start to wave it up and then slide your left hand right kind of in between or inside your right hip crease for a half bind. Or you can even just touch your lower back or sacrum. Just opening up through the shoulder. Remember, that's the priority, and breathe here. Great. Slowly unwind the left hand. Place it underneath your shoulder. Press your palm down and inhale, unthread your right arm up. And then exhale, set the palm down. Ground down into your right palm. Sweep your left arm up and overhead. And circle out the wrists. And switch. And take a huge breath in here. And then exhale, dive the left arm underneath your chest. Come onto the outside of your left shoulder. And as you gaze to the right, again, make your decision. Right hand can stay, slide forward, or wave it up and come into a half bind. And see if you can keep your sacrum level-ish. It's really difficult to assess whether it's level, so just make an attempt to feel if you could put a cup of tea on it and it wouldn't spill. And slowly unwind. Place your right palm down. Press into your palm and unthread your left arm up. And then exhale, set the palm down. Okay, so this pattern of movement that we're going to come into, if you're in the same room as me, you might want to turn so you're facing the mirror side of the room so you've got enough room to your right and left. Okay, and maybe pad your knees just so that you've got a little bit more support. And then from here, gaze to the right and extend your right leg out to the right. Your toes are going to be pointing forward. Seal your whole right foot down. Okay, so we're going to come into a modified side plank, and then I'm going to demo this in a couple different ways. So now with your right leg extended, gaze to the left. So your leg is not towards the left. Left hand will sweep out. Plant your palm so that your fingertips are flaring to the left. And then sweep your right arm forward to trace the horizon, up and overhead. Oh, we're in a modified side plank. Reach up and overhead so that the bicep frames the ear. Stack your right hip over your left and lean back slightly. Great. Okay, so from here, take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, don't strain to see me, just trust that you can follow my cue. You're gonna sweep your right arm forward, like you can touch the front of your space, and then see if you can bring your left hip towards your left heel, gaze to the right. And I'll demo this from the side view. Inhale, come back into a modified side plank, sweeping the right arm up and overhead. Feel like you were thrusting your pubic bone forward. And then exhale, sweep your right arm forward as your hip dives back towards your left heel, gaze to the right. This big expansive movement. So let's do this a couple of times. Inhale. You should feel this all along the outside of your hip, and then exhale. Your left hip doesn't have to come all the way to the heel. Just feel this motion, this pattern of the pelvis shifting forward. Then exhale, pressing back. Come back into a modified side plank. Sweep your right arm up and overhead. And pause here. So now come up onto your left finger pads. Note how much weight you just tried to dump into that wrist crease. And then wave your right arm down and then come up, spine vertical. Okay, so from here, take your right arm and then sweep it down on top of your right leg. Wave your left arm up, coming into a gate shape. Great. And try not to collapse into any hip crease. Lean back slightly so that the bicep frames the ear. Gaze underneath your upper arm. And take a huge breath in. And then as you exhale, you guessed it, left arm this time sweeps forward and down. Slowly shift your weight back. And then press into your right foot. Inhale, thrust your pubic bone forward. Roll up, coming back into gate. And then exhale, pulse forward and down. One more. Inhale. And exhale. Place both palms down. Shift your weight forward and tuck your right knee underneath you. Sway your hips from side to side. So that hip alignment is not just a stretch, I'm sure you felt it, but it's also a strengthener. Okay, come back into tabletop. Extend your left leg out to the left. Seal the whole left foot down, the toes point forward. So establish this firm base. It'll be important. The right toes stay tucked underneath you. Gaze to the right and then sweep your right arm down. Fingertips point away from you. And then inhale, gaze forward and sweep your left arm up and overhead. Coming into a modified side plank on this side. And then lean back, stacking your left hip over your right, gaze underneath your upper arm. And if you're not doing this with the hip pulsation, no worries. Just see if you can still sweep your left arm forward and down, like you were tracing the horizon, and then press forward and back, modified side plank. Your hips might feel like, keep going in this movement, that they're just shifting back and forward. And one more. Great. Pause in a modified side plank, and then come up onto your right finger pads. Those are the fingers that are supporting you. Wave your left arm down as you come up till your torso is vertical. There you go. Left hand comes down and sweep your right arm up and overhead. A little bit of secret core work. Maybe not so secret. Inhale here. And then exhale, take your right hand and then reach forward as your hips shift back and gate. Inhale, return back into this gate position. And exhale, pulse forward and back. One more. We're establishing a pattern. And exhale as you wave your arms forward and down. Plant both palms and tuck your knee underneath you. Just wag your tail, sway your hips from side to side. Great. So from this tabletop position, and you can remove your blanket off to the side if you're using it. Step your palms forward, one handprint, and with your toes tucked, we'll all meet in a downward facing dog. Lift your sitting bones up, draw your belly to your upper thighs, and see if you can rotate your arms so that your elbow creases face forward, biceps by your ears, gaze behind you. Don't force your legs to be straight. Keep a slight bend of your knees. And breathe here. Breathe into the backs of your legs. And remain calm. And we'll continue that arm pattern throughout our flow. On your next inhale, gaze forward between your thumbs. And as you exhale, slowly stroll to the top of your mat. Forward fold. Feet hips width distance apart. That's two fists next to one another. Bend your knees and let your belly rest on the top of your thighs. Clasp opposite hand to elbow point. Look behind your heels. Maybe take a slight sway side to side. Of course, you can take any movement that maintains this shape of breathing into the backs of your legs, that space where your glutes and hamstrings meet. Okay. And then pause this swaying action, release your elbows, tuck your chin in towards your chest, draw your navel in towards your spine. 2 to 3 rounds of breath to slowly roll all the way up to a standing position. And once your torso is vertical, gaze forward, roll your shoulders back, the palms face forward. And you can stay towards the front of your mat. I'm just adjusting myself. Inhale, sweep your arms up and overhead. And then from here, pause, bend both of your elbows and clasp opposite hand to elbow point above the crown of your head. Press into your feet, lift your forearms up. And then as you exhale, tip over to the right. Bend your knees slightly for some stability and buoyancy. And now we're going to create this sunflower shape. So just start to gaze down, keep bending your knees and draw your forearms down towards the right until you come into a forward fold. And so you see the utility of bending your knees. Now bring your forearms towards the left. So we're creating this giant circle. Keep drawing your navel in and then come all the way up. Great. Can you do one more like that on this side? Go slow. Great. And then once your torso is vertical, let's pause and then switch. So go towards the left, tip over to the left, and then lower your forearms down towards your toes. And then continue that circular pattern one more time on this side. Go slow. It's a big movement. Hopefully the back of your rib cage feels like it's getting rinsed out. And once you're vertical, once again, release your elbows, lift your fingertips up, palms to touch, and then exhale, fold forward. Inhale, halfway lift. Place your hands on your shins or your thighs. Pull the crown of your head forward, gaze forward. Great, navel draws in. Exhale, fold, plant your palms, and step back to a downward facing dog. Take your time, there's no rush. And from downward facing dog, on your next inhale, wave your body forward to a plank position, top of a push-up. Shoulders over wrists, heels press back, crown of the head forward. Gaze forward, take a deep breath in. And then as you exhale, you'll make your way onto your belly. So you can always lower your knees or hug your elbows in, and then lightly land. Untuck your toes. Roll your shoulders up by your ears and down your spine. Shoulders right in line of your nipples, essentially. Press into the tops of your feet. Inhale, lift your chin and chest up, gaze forward. Smooth the creases in the back of your neck. Exhale, lower down. 2 more like that. Keep hugging the elbows in, pressing into the tops of your feet. Lift without force. Exhale, lower. 1 more. Inhale. Exhale, lower. Tuck your toes. Press up through hands and knees or plank. And then exhale, downward facing dog. On your next inhale, gaze forward. Then exhale, tiptoe your way to the top of your space. Okay, and so from here, you're at the top of your mat. Step your left foot back behind you for a low lunge. Okay, and now I definitely recommend in this first iteration, as you lower your left knee down, to place it on a blanket if you're not on a carpeted surface already. Keep your left toes tucked. I'm not going to move the blanket just so you can see me better. Okay, so press into your feet, sweep your arms forward and up, crescent moon. And then pause here for the exhale. Make sure that the right knee doesn't go beyond the ankle. Left toes stay tucked. 1 more inhale. And then as you exhale, wave your right arm down and then start to reach towards the ground. Don't force it to touch, and then tip over to the right. So see if you can avoid using a block. Use the strength of your side body to support you. Let your fingertips hover. If they happen to touch the ground, that's totally fine. 1 more round of breath here in this side bend. Inhale, come all the way up, crescent moon. And then exhale, vertical twist. Right arm comes back, left arm forward, gaze to the right. Great. And then imagine that you were holding a giant beach ball in your palms. And if you feel like you're completely collapsing, come up a little bit. Great. Take a huge breath in. And as you exhale, set your left palm down along the inside of your right foot. Sweep your right arm down and then forward and up. for a revolved crescent moon shape. Great. And then keep going. Create this circular pattern of your right arm in space. Go slow, circling the shoulders. One more. The next time your right fingertips skim the earth, let them come down and gaze forward. Place your finger pads on the ground, walk them back, shift your weight forward, and start to straighten your right leg. Keep a slight bend in the knee, so don't force it all the way straight. Dial your right hip back and flex your toes towards your face for an Arda Hanumanasana, half splits. One more inhale, and stay for the exhale. On your next inhale, crawl your hands forward, place the sole of your right foot down, and sweep your arms forward and up. Crescent moon. And then exhale, wave your arms down. And just simply tuck your right knee underneath you. And sway your hips from side to side. So that's the base of our sequence. We will do that on the left before we add on. From here, let's stay in a tabletop position and just simply step your left foot forward in front of you. Keep your right knee padded if you need to, and the right toe staying tucked is key for stability. Sweep your arms forward and up. And as you exhale, pause, and you know where we're gonna go. So just assess how deeply you'd like to stay in this crescent moon. Just make sure that the knee doesn't go beyond the ankle. Inhale here. And as you exhale, wave your left arm down, and then tip over to the left, almost like you were trying to reach with your right hand, and don't force your finger pads to touch. Support yourself with the strength of your legs and your core. Inhale, slowly come up, crescent moon. And then exhale, vertical twist. Left arm this time comes back, right arm forward. Keep your palms open like you were holding a giant beach ball. Great. Inhale here. And stay for the exhale. Right palm comes down this time along the inside of your left foot. And we'll do a few giant circles. Sweep your left arm forward towards my voice. And then up and overhead. See if you can gaze up towards your left thumb. And then keep going. Keep sweeping this left arm up and down. One more. And the next time your left finger pads skim the earth, gaze forward, come up onto your finger pads and walk your hands towards you. Shift your hips back and start to straighten your left leg. I like to say straight-ish. Pull your left hip back and your heart forward, toes flex towards you. And you're doing great. Just take another slow breath here. Crawl your hands forward, return to a crescent moon shape. Left foot plants, and then sweep your arms up and overhead. And then exhale, float the palms down. Now listen carefully. Palms frame your left foot, pick up your back knee. So you're coming into a low lunge position, just so you can step forward. Step your right foot forward to meet your left. And shake out your legs, tap the backs of your knees. Okay. So we will do that exact sequence again, but back knee will be lifted. If you would prefer to do that whole thing with the back knee down, you'll be able to follow along, just like we're doing. Just make sure you pad your knee as you need to. Step your left foot back behind you for a low lunge. Now, like I like to say, just don't do anything in between. So just make your decision. If your back knee is down, place it down. If your leg is going to be straight, super straight and strong, so hug muscle to bone. Okay, that's going to be our support system. And then sweep your arms up and overhead for a high crescent lunge. Inhale here. And as you exhale, wave your right arm down. Now, your right arm is not going to touch the ground, of course. So use the strength and stability of your legs to tip over to the right slightly. Don't allow your back leg to collapse. That's what's supporting you. Inhale, raise your right arm up. Exhale, vertical twist. Right arm comes back, left arm forward. Palms stay open. Great. Stay here for one complete round of breath. Left palm comes down to frame your the inside of your right foot, and then 3 giant circles. Sweep your right arm forward, up and overhead. And your left palm can come down, or you can just be on finger pads, you choose. And keep circling out the shoulders, you're doing great. Okay, so the next time your right finger pads come to free your right foot, stay on your finger pads. And now most likely you'll have to step your left foot in about 6 to 12 inches, just enough so that you feel a little bit more stable, like you're not about to come into an actual split. Dial your right hip back, gaze forward, and then bend your elbows and hinge forward. And see if you can look towards your left toes and start to lightly press your left heel towards the earth. And pause and breathe here in this modified pyramid shape. On your next inhale, bend your right knee, gaze forward. Walk your hands forward so that you can step your left foot forward with a little bit more ease and shake out your legs. We'll do that sequence on the left. When you're ready, step your right foot back behind you for a low lunge. Once again, make your decision. If your leg's gonna be straight, keep it straight. If you're gonna bend it, just simply lower it down. No worries. Sweep your arms up and overhead, crescent lunge. Inhale here. And then exhale, wave your left arm down as if you can touch the earth, and then tip over to the left about 1 inch. Inhale here, and stay for the exhale. Inhale, wave your left arm up, come up. Exhale, vertical twist. Great, and we'll pause here for a round of breath. Keep lifting up by the crown of your head. Relax the expression on your face. Right palm comes down. Sweep your left arm forward, up and overhead. And a few giant circles here. Great. One more. And your finger pads come down and gaze forward. And now again, you might have to step your right foot in slightly just so that you feel a little bit more stable. And then just start to bend your elbows and hinge forward. Left hip dials back as you gaze towards your right toes. Start to press your right heel towards the earth. And breathe here. Breathe into the back of your left leg. Great. Bend your left knee, walk your hands forward and step forward. Shake out your legs. Okay, so one more time through that sequence. We're not gonna hold things as long and we're gonna add a shape or two. We'll see. Step your left foot back behind you for a low lunge. And then when you're ready, sweep your arms up. Inhale here. And then exhale, tip over towards the right. Inhale, come up. And then exhale, vertical twist. So the exact same sequence, but you'll see that we're doing a little bit quicker. Lower your left palm down. And just one time, sweeping your right arm up, creating this giant circle in space. And then exhale, lower. Okay, gaze forward. And then step your left foot in slightly. And then hinge forward. Pause here for the inhale. And the exhale. Okay, so now from here, as you gaze forward, rebend your right knee and then wiggle your left toes back. Right foot wiggles to the left. So you're in a little bit more of a wider stance. Grab your blanket if you think you'll need it so that you can lower your your left knee, back knee down. Untuck your back toes. So your finger pads are inside your right foot. And then just simply start to lower your pelvis a little bit lower as you pull your heart forward for this lizard shape. You can stay upright or you can lower onto your forearms. And that's where your blocks come in handy. You can always place your blocks down along the inside of your right foot, or also called runner's lunge. And just pause and breathe here. And come up onto your palms. I'm just going to give you one more option. Glance at your right foot. Maybe start to roll onto the pinky side edge of your right foot. Your knee is going to open a little bit and your toes will start to turn out. And just pause here. Okay, turn your toes forward. Shift your hips back slightly so that you can tuck your back toes underneath you. Press into your finger pads, lift up your back knee, and then take as many hops as you need to step your left foot forward. Shake out your legs. Okay, one last side. Step your right foot back behind you for a low lunge. Gaze forward and sweep your arms up and overhead. Inhale here, and then exhale, tip over to the left. Side bend. Inhale, come up. Exhale, vertical twist. Right palm comes down, and then just one round, sweep your left arm forward, up and overhead. Great. Finger pads come down, gaze forward, and step your right foot in, just about a footprint. Left hip dials back, and then hinge forward to a modified pyramid. One breath here. Rebend your left knee. Wiggle your right toes back so you've got more space. And then left foot wiggles to the left. Finger pads the inside of your left foot. Lower your right knee down and then untuck your toes. Stay in your finger pads for a moment so that you can sink down into this shape. Pull your heart forward. Stay here or come onto your forearms. And again, forearms on blocks or on the ground. For a low lizard shape or a runner's lunge, whatever you like to call it. Okay, come up onto your palms. And then from here, maybe start to roll onto the pinky side edge of your left foot. Your knee will splay out and your toes will point towards the left slightly. Point your toes forward. And from here, shift your weight back. And then you're just gonna simply slide your left knee underneath you. Okay, locate your blocks. Now, some of you I know at home have blocks that are a little bit on the harder side, and you might want to wrap a blanket around them if they're like a cork block. But a hardcover book or two books also will serve the same purpose. You're going to situate them so that they're kind of next to one another like this. So just watch me first. We're going to come into a tricep stretch. So I like to have my big toes touching and my knees separated till about my torso width. So not super wide, but also not touching. Okay, so from here, now I'm small, so I have to adjust my blocks so they're a little closer to me. I'm gonna place my elbow tips on the blocks like this. So I need to even slide them a little bit closer. Okay, palms to touch. And then from here, just start to sink your chest in between the pillars of your arms. Now you might have to widen your elbows slightly. And keep your hands in a prayer shape and let your forehead hover. Maybe your forehead can touch the ground. And then breathe into your triceps. Your palms can stay up and lifted. If you want, you can start to bring your prayer behind the back of your heart, but don't force that. You can still get the tricep stretch even if your palms are completely lifted. So we're in a child's pose shape of the body with this variation of a tricep stretch. Just pause and breathe here. Make sure that there's enough space for your forehead to lower. You've got enough clearing, essentially. And slowly come up. Okay, you can move your blocks off to the side. I just want to show you something real quick, which we're not going to do necessarily, just in case you want to play around with this later or at home. You can also adjust your blocks to the medium setting. I didn't do this morning because this was the first time doing this in a long time. So you've got more clearing. Now from here, since your elbows are more lifted, you might not be able to necessarily touch your forehead down, but you'll get more of a tricep and upper arm stretch, and you'll feel it in the back of your heart. So just so that you know, you can always adjust the blocks. I don't recommend doing this, but if you're at home, just make sure that you're safe. Okay, so swivel your feet out in front of you. Okay. Feet planted about hips width distance, and then lower onto your forearms behind you. Extend your forearms and your palms will plant. Gaze towards your kneecaps, and then just slump your shoulders just like you were hanging out. Elbows about underneath your shoulders, but it's really difficult to assess, so just do your best. From here, wrap your shoulder blades towards your spine, pull your heart forward, shoulders roll back, gaze forward and up. You should feel a big stretch along the front of your shoulders in this fish shape. Maybe even feel like you are tilting your pelvis forward. From here, stay, or you can also start to extend your legs out in front of you for a more traditional fish shape. Keep rolling the shoulder blades back, broadening through your collarbones. Keep your jaw relaxed. One more round of breath. Okay. Slump your shoulders forward. Go ahead and lay all the way down, but just bend your knees. Walk the heels in. Make sure that you have no space behind you to actually lay back. Keep your feet hips width distance. Arms rest by your sides. Press into your feet. Lift your hips up using the strength of your thighs, pressing down of your feet. And you can stay here in a bridge shape or roll your shoulder blades towards your spine. Interlace your fingers underneath your lower back. Press your fist down and lift your hips up even higher. Notice your chest lifting up towards your chin. Create space for the breath. One more round of breath here. And then slowly release the clasp of your hands and lower your hips down. Relax your shoulders and just pause here for a moment. And start to walk the soles of your feet together and allow your knees to open wide for a butterfly shape. Supta Baddha Konasana. You can place your hands along your hip bones or your lower belly. Remain calm. And if this shape feels really good to you, of course, you can stay here. I'm going to cue you for a few more closing shapes. But just enjoy this for another round of breath or two. Imagine you were hollowing out your pelvic bowl, the space in between your hip bones. And slowly slide your hands to the outsides of your knees and close your knees together. And so we'll close with a few options for a supine twist. You can simply, with your knees stacked, lower them to the left. Or if you want something a little bit more, cross your right leg over your left, pinning your left leg, and then bring your knees to the left. Okay? Once your knees touch the ground, roll your right shoulder back and gaze upward towards the right. And notice how the supine twist feels a little different than the one that we started class with. Breathe here, allow your spine to rinse out or wring out. Take your time, roll onto your back, uncross your legs if they're crossed, and come into a supine twist on the other side, either lowering your knees to the right so that your knees are stacked, or cross your left leg over your right. Just make your decision. Roll your left shoulder back, gaze upward towards the left. Continue to slow your breath down. Roll onto your back. Uncross your legs if they're crossed. Adjust your hips so that they're in the middle of your mat. And then using the strength of your low belly, pull your thighs in. Wrap your arms around your shins. Just take a few slow sways side to side, rocking from left to right along your mid-spine. So you can stay in this supine child's pose shape of the body, or you can progress to a happy baby, reaching for the outsides of your feet, flexing both feet, and bringing your knees to either side of your rib cage. Press up through the heels. You can even sway side to side here in this shape if you'd like. Okay, and then pause, release your feet, and bring your knees together. And press your whole spine down, especially your lower spine, your sacrum, and even towards your tailbone. And then start to curl in, peel the back of your head up, and bring your nose towards your kneecaps. And take a huge breath in here. And as you exhale, release your legs and arms out for Shavasana. So take your time, take up space. Allow your toes to splay open wide, relaxing through your feet and ankles. Soften your shoulders away from your earlobes and broaden through your chest and collarbones. Relax the muscles in your face, especially your jaw. Unstick your tongue from the roof of your mouth. Just allow your body to rest and breathe. And I'll call you back momentarily. So you can keep your body relaxed and your eyes closed. Notice the surging flow of breath as it pours into your chest and belly. Wiggle your fingers and toes. Stretch your arms up and overhead. And gather your knees in towards your chest and roll to one side. And pause here in a fetal position. Press your palms into the earth and come up to sitting. And once you're seated, swivel your hands on top of your heart. And as we bow our head towards our heart, we honor one another. And when you're ready, lift your gaze.